Today we're going to roll the clock back and look into the 12-volt time machine and pull up an old Philips tape recorder that goes back to the late 50s. I got two of them here. Let's see if we can get one of them to work. An old friend of mine gave me two of these. They were his dad's, and he found them in a closet. They haven't been touched in years, so I don't know the condition of them. I can tell you one thing. Both of them don't work. Whether we're going to get one or both to work, you'll have to wait and find out. Wait till you see the inside of these units. They're built like tanks, but everything's all jammed up in them. On the side, one input and 5 outputs. The one on the bottom left is a speaker output. This would be the tube layout, or for those of you outside of North America, the valve layout. Nothing like writing your initials right across the front of the machine in a big black Sharpie. As you can see, the mechanism is completely frozen up. This is going to have metal parts that are all just seized up. Or worse, could be rusted. I guess we'll have to take it apart and find out. That's what it is. It's got an eye tube down here. Look at that. Alright, I think the first thing I got to do is remove these screws. Now this is obviously a mono tape recorder. Not really worth a heck of a lot, but maybe to a collector. This pops out. And it's a couple more screws. There's our recording level eye, the tube. This is really pretty badly, well, I guess this flywheel should be lubricated. This bearing looks to be pretty dry down here. This is in really rough shape, this entire unit. I'm surprised the belts haven't turned to mush. But they haven't. See, that shuts it off, but it's not turning off. It's staying on. This switch over here is not working. This power switch over here should go off when you shut it off. Power switch is stuck on for one. But these idlers are not are gummed up, it looks like. When I push into the mode here, this should push down and start pushing against the flywheel for the different speeds. Our motors here, our main motors here, and it's got 3 different sizes of pulley, and the 3 different idlers are pushed into it for the different speeds. So if we look at how this mechanism drives, the hubs themselves are raised and lowered to either let them drop onto the pulley that's spinning, or lift them up so that they are just freewheeling. If we watch when I push the fast forward button over here, you'll see some linkage here will cause this to drop. So now it's gonna, well, it's slipping still, but it should start to grab. This other one here is stuck. It should be lifted up like this. So when I push the rewind button, it drops, but it's not. This one here is stuck down in the rewind mode.
And that main drive belt, that is looking pretty sad.
This one's moving, but it's got more torque on it now. This one here is not lifting up. Notice when you put it into play, okay, when you put it into pause, it actually puts a brake on and pulls back the pinch roller, which is completely seized up. Oh, this is going to need an awful lot of work. I'm not even going to continue on this one at this point. This was just kind of like the parts spare. Just wanted to see what it was going to do. So this one's in really, really rough shape. It's got a lot of corrosion, and just to get this one running will require an excessive amount of work, and I don't think it's really worth spending the kind of time required to get this thing running. I know someone's not going to be happy to hear that, but it needs belts too. These belts are that one's not too bad, but this belt here is turning to mush on this one. So I'm going to throw the top back on this one for now. I've got an identical one, and I'm going to drag that one out, and we'll see if that one is in any better shape than this one. So see, these machines, I'm probably just going to the indicator tube, though, something I might steal that out of it and turn it into a project just for a VU meter, a vacuum tube VU meter. That would be kind of cool. Because those eye tubes are always kind of neat. But this old beast, to say it's in really rough shape. Now I've got another one. I'm just going to throw this one together, and then we'll drag the other one up and just take a look at what shape it's in compared to this one. See if it's in any better shape. Maybe get it running. Now this one has a note on it that says it's working as of 2005. That doesn't mean it's working today. But hey, it has a tape on it. Which we'll remove. We'll just see if this one actually is working. Looks like the knobs have been broken on this one too. So if I take off that just so I can see what's going on, if I apply power, it doesn't seem to do anything, does it? Well, this one doesn't turn on. Although either did the other one initially until I was able to push the buttons all the way down. So this one's not working either. At least the buttons aren't sticking to the same degree the other ones were, but it's not turning on. So we'll check the power switch on this one, see why it's not turning on. So I guess I'll remove the that's got to get glued back on. Oh, that one's already loose. This will give me an opportunity to inspect the belts on this one. Anyway, looks like this has been held in place with tape. Maybe this front face off of the other one would be better. So the switch is not activating. After working on the switch for a few minutes, I got it so that it'll turn the motor on now. It's still not locking on. But at least it's now going to operate the flywheel. The idlers are going into place. It's not locking. I've got to fix this locking mechanism. It's not locking the button down. It's like it's not pushing down far enough is what's happening. I wonder why. Something's holding it up. Well, that switch is in pretty rough shape, but I might be able to make it work. Extra pieces and stuff falling out of it. Alright. There we go. If I hit rewind, that one's sticking. This one's sticking on fast forward on this one. This should lift this up to stop it from. There you go. Play. Stop. That's record. Pause. We'll put pause. It puts the brake on. Pause should latch, and it's not. Stop. Okay, that part's working. Record. Here's our audio input. You can see it flashing away on the tube here. There's some crap on here. We'll just see if we can pull this out. So you can see that nice, beautiful green tube. Stop. This is the input level. I don't hear anything on the speaker. Try threading up that tape that was on it just to see if there's anything on the tape. So the tape is going to go through like this. I don't know what speed this tape's recorded in. We'll try 3 3/4. See if there's anything on here. This should have a speaker built in. I see a speaker down here, so we should hear sound. Obviously, there is something on the tape. Sounds like it's playing backwards. Well, let's turn the tape over and see what it is. But there is something on this machine. The speaker's not working. But when I play it back into the amplifier, my amplifier, I have sound. So we'll just put the tape on the other direction. Looks like it was stored, what they call it, head out or tail out. Yeah, tail out. Okay. Actually, you know what? This is a half-track machine, and the tape that's on here is so it sounds like a quarter track, because I'm hearing both the forward and the forward end backwards at the same time. That would explain that. So, well, we'll see if it records. It's looks like it's recording something now off my MP3 player, which is going into it, which I don't hear coming through it. But we'll just see whether it records anything. So it does record. We'll speed it up to 7.5, and I'll adjust the levels accordingly so that I'm not oversaturating the tape. I don't know what these controls do. I guess the counter's not working. What else is not working on this? But it's recording now. The track just started. We can see on the eye tube that it's recording a signal. Rewind it. Well, it sounds like it's recording to me. speaker's not working. I'm plugged into the external speaker plug. Now maybe the speaker's going to work now because maybe the plug was kind of screwed up. I plugged into the external speaker plug into my amplifier. But yeah, there's no sound coming out of the speaker, but now the other outputs on here that it's got other outputs on here, but I don't know whether they're. It sounds more like a tape head output as opposed to. There's 3 outputs on here.
I would assume that one of those outputs are tape head without amplification, tape head with equalization, and preamp out. I think those are the 3 outputs that it's got. Plus it's got headphone and speaker output.
See, when recording I still don't hear anything. But at least I can set my levels accordingly. We're making progress. This thing's kind of working. It's kind of working. I had to fix the switch because the switch wouldn't turn on. But having done nothing else to it, it's working. But the speaker's not working, so maybe we'll work on getting the speaker working. Because the speaker should be outputting sound. When I plug into the speaker output on the side here, I'm getting sound, even though I'm going through the amplifier. Should try plugging that into a speaker and just see whether I can get sound if I hook my speaker up to this. If I just take this wire and just connect it to one of my speakers. So that's using the speaker output. The internal speaker's not working. I bet the speaker itself is shot. The amplifier is obviously working because I can plug in to the speaker output and get sound. So it's got to be the speaker. I'll pull the chassis. I just want to take a look at the speaker. See whether the speaker itself is shot. I think it's four bolts, or yeah, 4 bolts that hold this together. See if we can take it apart and get the chassis out, just so I can check the speaker. This looks to be 1/4 inch. Are they 1/4 inch? Could be 1/4 inch. Probably not. Of course not. It's metric. Metric, goddamn. Well. You can tell the flywheel's in good shape. It's still spinning. It's amazing that the belt also is not completely shot on this one, because this machine's got to be, you know, this is going back to probably the late 50s, maybe early 60s, but it's old. It's being a tube mono machine. I gotta think this has got to be back in the 50s, because they had VU meters by the 60s, and this is using an I tube for the level. See, I'm now interested in getting this thing going just because it's a vintage piece. Not that I really have any use for it, but it's a vintage piece. I'm going to have an identical machine for parts too. So if the speaker's blown, I can certainly pull the speaker off the other one. If it's not damaged too. Maybe the speaker's just disconnected. It is CSA, so this was one sold in Canada, but it was made in Holland, obviously, because that's where Philips was from. Let's see if we can get the power cord to go through here. There's my speaker. Oh, okay, there's a wire that's not connected to something. That's probably why the speaker's not working right here. This wire, this red wire, which is one of the speaker wires, is not connected. So the power from the amplifier comes in over here, this red wire, goes into the speaker jack, the speaker terminal. From the speaker terminal it comes up to this switch. When the speaker plug is plugged in, it pushes the switch open. So it comes into the side of the switch here and it returns from here. From here it heads over to this other switch which is controlled by one of the other contacts for the I guess one of the preamp outputs. There's another multi-switch there. This wire goes to the speaker. This one here goes to the shroud of the speaker, and I think the other one is probably also going to the same terminal, which is ground. So I'm going to connect it to here. I'm going to redo both of these because they look like they're ready to break. Then you guys would be happy too. Could you help me fix a vintage reel-to-reel machine? And that's the name of the game, fixing vintage electronics, right? Especially when I have no schematics or anything for this thing. This thing's as old as the hills. This thing's older than I am, I'm sure. Maybe somebody watching knows what year this is, but this has got to be, it's got to be early 60s. Either late 50s or early 60s, just from the vintage of it. And this other one looks to be ground. So that would be what that goes to. Just make sure this other one's not going to break. Time to try it and see whether I've got sound out of the speaker. And if I do, excellent. Then I'm happy because this machine's working. Did you guys get a peek into the back while we're at it? Big filter cap there. There's a preamp tube over here. It looks like somebody's taped some wires up here. Oh, they've taped a ground onto this. Looks like they've soldered a ground wire on a shield. Preamp tubes, shielded tubes here. Rectifier tube. That'd be the amplifier, the power output. Probably the audio output transformer over here. Main power transformer up here. You can tell because it's wired with the motor. Our motor over here. And the eye tube is in the front here. There's our recording indicator eye tube. Okay, I'm going to walk this back into the cabinet now. Try not to break any wires while I'm at it. problem with these chassis is they're quite heavy, and you don't want to grab on anything that could bend. You kind of gotta grab them by the main support post to try to maneuver them into and to get them onto those pins. And the chassis itself, as I say, is quite heavy, so it's a delicate process to try to get this thing back together. Because I don't want to grab it on anything where it could bend something. There. I think I got it back in place. I'll test it before putting the main screws back in, but I think it should be okay now. Let the amplifier warm up for a minute. I don't hear anything. Just plug it back in the external speaker here. See if I've got sound going to the speaker. So I do have sound going to the speaker, but I don't have sound going to this speaker. You can hear. I'll check it again and see why not. Alright, so I just went back and just double checked. What happened is when I slid the chassis in, one of the wires pulled off the speaker, because these are old wires and they were soldered 60 odd years ago. So I just resoldered that one back down. We should have sound. Control leaves something to be desired. There we go. That's control needs to be cleaned big time. Anyway, this is fixed. And it's fixed as much as I'm going to do to it, because it's operational now, so I can put the nuts back on that hold put the grommets back in and put the nuts back on that hold the unit together and put it back together. This is as far as I'm going on this one, because it's functional. So we'll leave it at that. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But considering the age of this thing, I think it's working good enough. And I think that's all we could ask for. Another thing that's pretty much worn out on this is the friction material for a rewind, for example. It doesn't have a whole lot of torque. If I push down on it, it does. But the friction material between the belt's got good torque. You can see when I can pretty much stop it, but the actual friction material between the clutch is also worn down pretty good, which makes for slow rewinds when the tape is full. I mean, it works, but it's kind of slow. Tape counter also is not working. It looks like this gear is broken. You can see the gear turning, but the shaft on the other end isn't turning, so the tape counter is also broken on this unit here. But again, these are things to be expected with a machine that's 60 plus years old. I'll check this is the clutch here. Drops down onto here. That part's okay, but there's a pad in here. These are what make contact with this, and these are worn out. There's probably rubber on here. At one time there was rubber, and the rubber itself is this friction pad is for the back tension for when it's playing. when it's in fast forward. But when it drops onto here, these are the clutch pads here that make contact with this plastic disc, and these rubber grommets are pretty much worn out to nothing. That's why it doesn't have a lot of torque.
Now I do have that spare, but they're probably in just as bad a shape as this one. Anyway, not too worried about that because I'm not using this machine for anything.
Goes on like that. Oh well, let's throw it together. That sits in there like that. It was taped in place, but it actually sits in the front like that. That looks a little better. The plastic for this one, someone's drilled a hole through here to reattach that pin. Alright, got the unit back together. We will thread up the tape. And try to make a recording. Just use the built-in speaker, but plug in my MP3 player to the auxiliary input. Okay, let it record. We can see the nice green indicator here indicating it's recording. Aren't they cool? I love the old vacuum tube indicators. I like to build a stereo VU meter out of two of these things. Just the tubes, just for the indicator. I think they look cool. So I've got it recording to I'm just touching the red, and that's how it works. You just look at the one on one side, and that's where your saturation point is there. We'll rewind the tape back and play it back and see how it sounds. Okay. That's the volume. Control's dirty, but I know these ones too. Tone. Yeah, I don't know what this control does. Well, that's tone, that's volume. Which is the recording level? Is this the recording level here? Oh, so that one's the recording level as well. So, anyway, it's working. It's as good as it's going to get, I think. Considering that it wasn't working when I started, and I got it going, I think that's an accomplishment for today. Anyway, that's all I'm doing on this one. Nice old vintage Philips. What model is this piece of junk? This is a got a bell that's ringing in it now. It's an EL3516 G/55. I wonder if that /55 means 1955. Interesting. If someone knows, please let us know. It could very easily be a 1955 machine, just by looking at it. It could very easily be that. Anyway, sound off in the comments what you think. Restoring this old unit. Well, not restoring it, but repairing it, because to restore this is going to require a lot of work. That clutch has to be rebuilt for one. It fast forward works fine, but rewind, I have to kind of push on it, and then it will rewind. It'll get going. Because it'll slip otherwise. So it's as good as it's going to be. The power button works now on it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.